Good morning, Vietnam. RIP Robin Williams. Welcome to the Money Matrix podcast, where smart money finds a smarter way with these two gentlemen. I'm Meyer Dalal,
Ronan Fishman, resident Canadian.
Kia Kavusi, North to South Realty.
Andrew Marassi.
We have Andrew and Kia here, who are cross-border Canadian and U.S. realtors, just because there's so much that they're doing right now that's really different than what we've seen coming out of Canada.
Everything is about agency and execution. And you guys are an actual reflection of what's really happening politically, economically, from a real estate perspective. Your brokerage name is North to South Realty, which is exactly the indication of what is really happening on the ground. People are looking to migrate, move, invest. Somebody had the vision to say, all this money is leaving. People are looking for a better investment on cash flow opportunities. Nobody's servicing these clients. Boom, here we are. I don't know which one of you wants to start on how that vision came about, when the execution happened, and then what's actually happening on the ground, because it's a lot.
Andrew.
Before you jump in, tell us about yourself, your career, how long you've been in the business.
I'll go into my background and how the company got started.
I've been in real estate for 15 years, dealt with mostly residential, breaking into the commercial market, loving every second of it.
But in Toronto, right?
Downtown Toronto, but I've done deals in Muskoka. I've done deals hour and a half in every direction outside of Toronto. I learn every market they're working, and I make sure that I get the right investment for my clients. So it doesn't matter where it is, I'm knowledgeable in that market.
Why did you decide to join North to South?
It was fate. Since 2020, COVID, I spent a month here. I was in Mexico and here during COVID, and I was like, I need to get out of Canada. Came to Florida. I've been coming here my whole life. Love it. When I was here for a month, I was like, this is the way people should be living. It's reasonable and logical leadership. It's not sugar-coated. You run your own life. The government doesn't get in your way. It's civilized. Since then, I fell in love with the idea of coming here full-time. It took me a couple of years to figure out how I met this man here. And the dream came to fruition not too long ago.
So you're down here
full-time now. Full-time. Loving every second of it. Market is revamped. Toronto, the direction it's been going, it's been upsetting. I deal with investor clients telling me it's great to invest down here now. It was getting stagnant in Canada. You can't make money in Canada.
Explain that. Tell me what you've seen over the last 2-3 years.
Don't quote me on this, but a friend of mine, Daniel Foch, he's great on stats. We follow his Instagram. He shared a stat. Pre-con sales are down 70% in the last 3 years. In the last 6 years, it's down almost 98%. Constructions are stopped. Dead. People aren't buying these units. There's 78 months of inventory on the market for condos. I had a client call me yesterday. He goes, Keo, should we sell my condo? I'm like, no. If you want the list, I don't even want to take the listing right now, respectfully.
You can. I've got this conversation happening all the time.
78 months of inventory in the States, probably 3 to 4 months. You guys have 78 in Toronto.
We had the lowest Q1 sales since 1995. Only 533 units sold in all of Q1. Condos.
Okay.
Single family is taking a hit, but the condo market it's abysmal.
So that's 78 months of just condo listings?
Condo, that's right.
Oh,
that's right.
You have to understand the landscape in Toronto, 15 years of pre-construction sales. You bought these condos delivered between 5 to 6 years on average. Pre-construction sales have this lag, and it was so popular. Canada, Toronto had the most cranes in its sky than any other city by a 2-to-1 margin over the past 10 years.
That's right.
So you've got lots of speculation, foreign investment, foreign students. They turned the pipeline off in one day. Last year, they said no more foreign students. Try to get a rental in a rent-controlled environment. My brother is telling me, putting up a condo downtown Toronto, almost 600 square feet, 1,300 a foot, King and Dufferin area, good personal friends. Personally, I own. How much do you think they're getting in rent on that one-bedroom unit?
One bedroom, probably 22, 23.
$19.95, no hits. You know what the mortgage on that is? 4.
That's
Not including maintenance, not including insurance.
just the major shift that happened in the market. When those pre-cons were selling, the rule of thumb to tell people why I steer them away from pre-con over the last couple of years. I love pre-con if it makes sense, but it hasn't, because developers charge tomorrow's prices today. It used to be today's prices for tomorrow, which incentivizes you to get that capital appreciation. By the time it's built, you've made X amount of capital, but now they're pricing it with the speculative cost of what it's going to look like in the landscape of 4 years from now, which is unrealistic.
No opportunity in Toronto. People are looking south.
I'm one of the owners of North to South Realty. We have 3 locations, 2 physical, 1 virtual. We have a location down in Vaughan, Ontario, Canada. We have a location in Fort Lauderdale on East Las Olas. and a virtual office right now in Naples, Florida, expanding throughout South and Southwest Florida markets. I've been a realtor in the Toronto area for just over 15 years now, Florida hitting 2 years. And we kind of hit the ground running. My partner, Joseph, started the company with his cousin. I came in as the broker and the face of the company. My father had a big reputation in the GTA area. We came on board and we've just been hitting the ground running now. We're running at almost 40 agents throughout the offices. We just added an agent to our Naples office. We are the only company in Canada that opened up in Florida, in South and Southwest Florida, and that can also provide opportunities for our realtors to move to Florida, become licensed, get a social security number, start collecting US dollars, and start migrating their investors down to Florida. So we are the only, and I can confidently say, specifically in Ontario, but probably Canada, that can do this.
Well, congratulations on that. What's the future vision? Are you only staying in Florida, or is it planned to expand further?
Our goal right now is Florida is to cap the major markets where investors are going. We're in talks to open in Orlando by year's end. That will happen. Once we hit Orlando, our goal is Tampa, St. Pete's area. We may travel to Sarasota, but other states are on our radar: Nevada, Texas, and Arizona. That's where we see future investment. I have a family in the US and they tell me specifically California, they were either not born and raised in California, but they were there their whole lives. And everybody from California is migrating to Texas, Nevada, or Arizona. Northern states in the East Coast to Florida or the Carolinas. The Carolinas is a big market, probably our second market that we break into other than Florida.
You
Would be
know,
the
it's
Carolinas.
funny you say that. So we're licensed in 46 states, investment properties in 22 states, every occupancy. But our biggest states that we do business in, California, because originally the bank was headquartered in California. I still have our processing there. Florida, Carolinas, Arizona, Nevada, Texas, and Tennessee. We also do a lot of. Orlando specifically, Kissimmee, that whole area is huge market right now, but you need Spanish speakers there. Is it only Canadians coming down here, or will you work with US people? What's the goal for what you guys are doing here?
I've been dealing with investor clients who have been leaning on me for my expertise in the Canadian market. But now that they see I'm down here, they've worked with me for years. They trust my work ethic, attention to detail. Since you're down there, I need you to find me multiplexes. That's the number one thing I'm
Yeah.
focusing on. That's what Ronan and I connected on, lending on larger scale deals, which is exciting. The sky's the limit. I'm dealing with Canadians, some local people, but mainly investors trying to get their cash out of Canada and make USD.
They don't see the value. You bought for capital appreciation. That capital appreciation is done. No real runway for that. Are people looking for investment and a move?
Both. It's a mix, but a lot are hoping. One client would just say the paperwork for, they're buying to invest and eventually move themselves. So they're going to use it as kind of like the home base / property when they're down here for a few months of the year. But other than that, it's an investment property.
Yeah, that's really what we're seeing, that trend. They're buying, getting established, and filing the paperwork. We closed a deal for a client in Texas, bought in North Carolina as an owner occupied because he finally got his green card and everything. So that's the natural progression of Canadians. Do you market it to your clients? Are you out there in Canada saying, hey, we have a US based operation that we can get you the properties and lending and everything? What do you guys focus on in Canada outside? Now the pre-con's done. Is this your main push?
Specifically north of the city, where we've developed in terms of a reputation is we're that direct connection. Canadians were finding, the mentality in Florida is different from New York, Chicago, Toronto, big cities where it's, oh, people want answers right away. Florida's the opposite. Everybody's on island time, just going with the flow. I had to call an agent 16 times because she was 15 minutes late. She still hasn't returned my calls in 2 months. What we've noticed with the Canadian market, and this is not saying this with any disrespect, but Canadians want to feel familiarity and deal with like-minded people. When you're dealing with a fellow Canadian, the ice is already broken. I picked up a referral from realtor.com and noticed it was a Toronto number. So I called it from my Toronto number, got a contact from realtor.com, looking at selling my place. It's great. You guys are Canadian. So I already had the listing. That's an extreme case, but I already had the listing without even meeting him. There was no other agent was going to get that listing over me because the ice wasn't broken. North to south does not just connotate Canadians. A majority of our business right now are New Yorkers. Number one is New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Massachusetts. Those are the top 4 states for our company specifically that we are relocating either as an investment property, either as a secondary home, which will be transitioned to a permanent home once they retire.
Making the inroads with, is it
Yeah.
specific marketing or agency
Yeah.
setups?
The realtors that work for us jump on a lead generation platform that we have. The lead generation platform still work. We're still getting the feet wet on it. It's a specific platform. We get a good quality referrals on that platform. All my agents have access to that platform, but it's a lot of marketing, right? It's through social media, through Instagram, through our agents already big network.
But they're
But
not
we are
specific Canadians. There's anyone in those states, not specifically Canadians that are looking at.
essentially, yeah. Like we're not going to limit ourselves just to Canadians. Like me personally, my personal business, if I had to limit my business to just Canadians, I haven't done a deal this year with Canadians. All my deals have been Americans. I love dealing with Americans more than Canadians. The mentality is very different.
Sure.
With Canadians, everybody's looking for a deal, a discount. Everybody complains about certain things. Americans are different in mindset. I don't get the haggle as much with Americans.
Is challenge. Your rates are higher in America. Your closing costs are significantly higher. Is 95% of the battle. Even if they can afford the payment, we express the payment and then they ask about the rate. You tell them the rate is 8%. They're like, oh no, I can't afford it. You just told me you can afford it.
One thing that they need to know though as well, you're cash flowing immediately here.
Yes.
It's that does not exist in Canada. Your rent is 1,900 and the cost is 4K.
No,
carry.
6,000, 4K delta negative. The capital appreciation's gone and they can't walk away. They're going to get sued for the remaining contract if they should. They have to close it, then eat it.
Now, you focus on Airbnb with your clients. I know the last couple that we are doing for you is they're buying for a purpose of Airbnb, but are you coaching them on the pitfalls and what's involved? It's not an easy setup. You have to have property management in place.
When we underwrite our deals, we're working in, I non-negotiably underwrite very conservatively, which includes a property manager every 100% of the
You
time.
put in a contingency for
I'll
that.
work it into my cap rate every time when I present it to a client. So not to mention, again, when it comes to Canadians investing down here, when I'm giving them the information, the landlord friendliness down here.
Yeah,
What I
it's
mean by
huge.
that is in Canada, we all know Toronto, maybe
California,
okay,
New
yeah,
York.
you don't pay for 6 months to a year, you're not gonna see a dollar. Here, they don't pay, they're out. It's as simple as
It's a huge benefit.
so investors feel a lot safer. It's the way it should be.
I want to touch on something Andrew said about understanding he hasn't been working with as many Canadian clients' expectations. When I say not just Canadians, it's foreign nationals. They want to know somebody's been through their journey and understands the psychology. When we're dealing with a Canadian from a mortgage perspective, you have to understand the psychology of the requirement because Americans are different than Canadians. And you have to understand the tax implications. Meyer touched on the cost of the loan. That rate could be 20%. If it's cheaper than what the loan costs you up front, i.e. tax, it doesn't matter as long as it's debt service coverages, as long as we can qualify that individual. That goes for domestic and a foreign national. If you don't know the psychology of your client and their fears, you can't do business with them just because they're an active buyer. You guys are covering that on both sides of the border. The interesting thing about North and South is that North can mean New York, Massachusetts, Jersey.
Going back to the investment profile, Canadians specifically in the GTA,
GTA means
Greater Toronto Area.
whenever you're talking to a Canadian investor, it's I'm going to buy this property today at $500,000. In 5 years, I'm going to sell it at 750. To them, that's a good investment. When dealing with people south of the border, they never factor in capital appreciation into the investment. It's all about ROI, return on investment on a monthly basis. If that is cash flowing, they look at that as, okay, what's the percentage of that? And is it a good investment going from there, or are there better investments out there? They'll never factor in capital appreciation. With Canadians, they never factor in ROI. Capital appreciation. My clients just closed on Church Street at $875,000 for a 540 square foot condo. There's one on the market right now at $519,000 and it's not selling. Where's your capital appreciation? In the next 10 years, you're going to break even. And you're out still consistently because your maintenance fees on these are almost $1 a foot. On a 500 square feet, you're at $500 call it $520, just your property taxes and your maintenance alone, you're at almost $1,000 a month. And your rent is only max 2 grand. Your mortgage is at least 2 grand, if not more. So you're out every month on your investment. If I'm giving you $50, what's my return? That's what I look at. Is my $50 going to be worth 100 when you give it back? What's my return today for my $50? That's the main difference I find with Canadians versus Americans.
Do you see that?
There's a big waiting game now, not so much in the condo market, but in the single family home or medium density market, townhome, semi-detached. There's a wait for rates to go down. Let's wait for the market to start correcting itself. Everybody's in this waiting game. There's a lot of pent up demand, specifically in the Ontario market, but there's other factors with real money, the people who have the wealth. And Kia is a testament to this because his clientele had of a certain level where there's no longer wanting to deal in Canada anymore because
That's it.
forget
But
about
that are they
Yes.
getting so frustrated where they don't
it.
have an investment opportunity? Because we're not dealing with people looking to buy a primary residence. Well, that's what they can afford. But we're looking for people that have the wealth to go outside of that. So they realized Canada is not for them. Now, getting them to transition to here, Kia, are you having to coach them on, hey, rates are going to come down at some point, but you need to step into the market today because properties are appreciating here? So is it a shift in the mindset where you're going to have to coach them along the way, or are they getting there themselves?
Look, the mindset in Canada is taxes are going to keep going up. They keep finding new rain taxes. They keep increasing property tax.
That's an
You know what I
actual
mean?
real
So
tax in
it's
Toronto.
a rain
It's
tax.
a rain tax.
That mean the rain tax.
And when it
When it rains on your
rains,
property,
they increase your tax.
the amount of rain on your property based on your lot size, you get taxed because the city needs to manage
The
drainage.
rain.
That's
Okay.
a real thing.
There's a comedian.
What about snow?
Snow tax.
No, not yet.
That's coming soon.
There's a comedian, the mayor of Toronto, Olivia Chow. She does a voiceover, this rain tax thing.
Ben,
I'm gonna say
Ben Benke.
Ben Benke's, okay?
yeah.
He makes fun of her, talks about the rain tax. I will not do this. I'm not a comedian. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for it.
Yeah.
But I would try. I highly recommend to go on Instagram, go to Ben Benke's and watch his Olivia Chow impersonation about the rain tax.
Yeah,
It's the funniest thing.
Taxes are going to keep going up. Landlord rights keep increasing. They don't think about the investor because their voting base is all renters. They're just going towards the votes. The middle class is getting decimated. They have no respect for the investor and end user class. They're discussing ending the primary residence capital gains
Tax exemption.
tax exemption. So
Yeah, that's crazy.
like the fact that they're even discussing that before it was a joke, but now the liberals just solidified another win, and that's in the discussion. In Florida, they're talking about axing property tax overall.
Wow. What
So-
that would do for values.
The question though, are you teaching them, hey, you can get a seller concession where the seller can pay part of your closing costs?
Yes.
These are conversations that we're
Yes.
having because it's vital for Canadians, especially to know. But when we speak to clients referred by you, the educational component is up front. Then the light bulb clicks. Our classic line starts with the market here, 22 months in a row of appreciation. 22 months. Overall average in the United States, home appreciated. If you think rates are coming down, and if they'll come down maybe half a point, maybe in this next 12 months, it's a couple $100 compared to 10s, 20, 30, 40. You have a client buying $1 million property. If they waited a year, they'd be out 8 to 10% a year.
Florida is the future for the next 20 years. I chose Florida, especially why I want to come down here. Everybody who wants to retire comes to Florida. Everyone who wants
Quality
a
of-
vacation comes to Florida. Tourism market. This place is a gold mine for the foreseeable future.
Quality of life, the key thing you hear over and over. I really want to circle back to something that you said about affluent clients. If they believe in the future of Canada, this is the best buy opportunity for real estate in the last 30 years. It will not get worse. If it does, I don't know what that looks like. They're still not willing to buy. The education piece that we're working on every day, explain it. You have access to cash flow producing properties, to unlimited purchases. We're not doing it based on your income. We're doing it based on the asset, the DSCR.
And they don't need credit. They don't need a social security number. That's huge. But they're true Canadians, that they're Canadian generationally, or are you seeing a lot of your clients, the immigrants, because Canada is such a melting pot of nationalities? Are you seeing more of that group coming out and saying, let me invest, or is it
Great
Canadians?
question.
Andrew, touch on this one.
So, to be honest, I don't have Canadian clients. I'm a first generation Canadian. I'm the first in my family born in Canada. I would be considered the investor going to Florida. I see a lot of first and second generation Canadians. My father came from Italy. My mother came from Italy. All my clients are predominantly European, European, Middle Eastern. And that's who I'm seeing. The Canadian ones, I can't touch
They're
on,
going to
but
Alberta.
Yeah,
yeah,
honestly,
definitely.
sure.
Yeah, definitely what we're dealing with. And then to paint the picture too for you guys is the reason wealth is leaving. Well, not only tied to confidence, but the United States is a very different market. If you classify Canada and the US as one country and you have to classify the top tax state, Americans will first say New York, then California, and then I believe it's either Michigan, Illinois, or Massachusetts next. They're not even close to Canada in terms of taxation. The highest tax North American states. Number one is Quebec, two Ontario, or three BC. The next closest American city is New York, fifth on the list. For Americans, New York is the mecca of taxes, but still not close. It's just going to get worse. These wealthy, affluent people are saying, even losing 35% on our dollar with the Canadian dollar low, we are still investing in the United States, in Florida, because the highest tax bracket in Florida is 37%. The highest in Ontario is 54%. You figure out the math there. And I rather lose take the little hit, which we have partners to mitigate the foreign exchange, and start making US dollars, because the US dollar is somewhat depressed. We're going to see a big change in the US dollar and economy in the next 6 to 12 months. The whole tariff thing is sputtering off and coming to an end as you see all these deals happening. Wealth is leaving Canada is a very political thing, and it's all to do with the inundation of taxes. And Canadians are paying taxes. There was a joke on Instagram, and so there was the best joke. This guy, he's in his restaurant, he's cutting pitas, and I'm stressed, I'm overworked, barely making ends meet, but I'm doing it for them, showing a picture frame. He's petting it. To the average person, they're thinking it's his wife, his kids, he's doing it for them. Then he turns the picture over and it's the Canadian government.
The IRS equivalent.
That's what Canada is going through right now. Investment in Canada, specifically Ontario, is gone so ridiculous.
As an immigrant myself, you find it easier to move if you've already left home once. I can relate to why a lot of your clients are different nationalities. Once you leave your homeland, everything is open. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I deal with a lot of second generation people. I'm 34, so I deal with people on social media. The boomers shifted the liberal vote this past election. They're not on social media. They don't see the alternative media. They're just
Yeah.
seeing one government-run news network, CBC. They're seeing skewed media. That's what shifted the election. People my age see the truth and the direction the country's going, especially with the reckless spending. So they're like, I need to diversify, get into the States where it's more stable, more business friendly, better quality of life.
A lot of conservatives in Canada are pissed off at Trump. Okay. He inserted himself into the Canadian election. They think it skews results. I remember having this conversation with my mother, who was like, my mother would have dated Trump. Like, she was a Trumper. She loves him. And then after the election, she was really annoyed. Didn't understand. Trump didn't do what was good for Canada. He did what was good to the United States. And this conversation that we're having at the table here, we're talking about dollars and cents, financing, real estate, investments, all that stuff. And that actually has a nominal figure of money coming from Canada into the United States, which is a net positive for Canada. But what you are not putting into this equation is you're watching a 34-year-old, Andrew, I'm assuming you're around the same age, you're watching people that want to establish families, that want to establish roots, that have intellectual capital, drive, ambition. The equivalent of the American dream is being sucked out of Canada and into the United States. These people will create the next generation of ambitious people. The American dream is alive and well. You don't know who's coming through that border. People making a move here are brilliant, ambitious, and will be the next generation that will create what is already make America 100 times better.
One thing I noticed in this election cycle, conservatives in Canada and conservatives in the United States, let's call them the Republicans, they're two different animals.
Okay.
Canadian conservative is more like right-leaning Democrats, like Joe Manchin. What we're noticing, anybody who makes it in Canada, wealthy, the Kevin O'Leary's, or anybody who's made top 1%, they all leave.
They all leave.
They all leave. Our prime minister doesn't even live in Canada. He lives in New York. Figure it out.
Carney
Doesn't
lives in
even
New
have
York?
an
Yeah,
identity.
moved to Canada.
No
Right.
college. It's big
Yeah.
downgrade.
He wasn't even living in Canada?
He has residence in Ireland and New York City. Doesn't even he works for Brookfield Asset Management. Brookfield Asset Management was a Canadian company, Texas. He went to New York, figured that out.
Still
And they're
cheaper than
still trading.
Canada.
We have a huge market of pissed off people that want to get out, and we can give them that out, provide security. We saw this 3 years ago when we started. You can walk into our office in Toronto, purchase a property in Florida. It's seamless. We can get you the right immigration. We've created a team where it's seamless now for all the people that want to get out in the next 6 to 12 months, because people, including myself,
I've been saying the same thing.
invested in Canada. They're still waiting to see what the government is going to just funded $73 billion without a vote. Canadian conservatives are pissed off at Trump. Donald Trump is not the prime minister of Canada. He's the president of the United States. His job is to worry about the United States. But if anybody's mad at him, this election disaster, look in the mirror. You will see a huge net migration of Canadian people with wealth, between 1 and 5 million, moving south. Carolinas, Florida, Nevada, Arizona. You will see people in the next 6 to 12 months leave Canada. It's the joke of the world right now.
The thing missing is the education piece. Once we see stability in the markets, Trump will normalize things. You show them an asset. We qualify them the asset. They need the lawyer. We give it to them. You need the tax accountant. They don't have to do anything except sign, and they can start with an office in Canada remotely. We can do remote signing. What's missing is education. People don't know. It's
I
out
have
there.
one question for you. When you tell your clients that they don't need U.S. credit, they don't need a social security number, they don't need any tax returns, they don't need to show income. All they need is the property that it qualifies itself, the rental, plus the money for the down payment. What do they say?
Your properties. And that's the realtors too. So a lot of our work is coming from referrals from agents who have their
Yes.
clients. Because obviously I have my own buyer pool, I have my network, but at the same time too, I have one of the biggest WhatsApp group pages with over 200 realtors in it that we market ourselves. Hey, if you have a buyer looking to invest in the States, let's talk. Your clients are going to be in great hands with Ronan, with Mayor, with our team. That it's such a
Right.
seamless transaction. Your clients are going to get the highest level of service and a great investment.
We're plugging into a network that needs resources and help. These guys were just on the forefront of being able to set up from the real estate perspective. We loop in from the financing perspective.
You guys are years ahead of your competition.
Amazing.
Realtor we've spoken to in Canada has got this far.
Yeah.
Difficult. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's as close to the hardest thing in regards to an immigration standpoint is real estate. And we could have just opened up bought an existing company, would have been easier, but to start it from zero and grow it in less than 2 years to 40 with hopes to go even bigger, it's very difficult. That's why people don't do it, because of the capital investment.
I tried to do what you accomplished and saw how difficult it was. Now that you're there, you've saved so much angst for people.
I can get you licensed, social security number, and legally able to work in the United States in less than 3 months.
For agents that want to get licensed, agents Canadian E2 visa, get licensed and want to be able to legally work and have support, North to South has it set up for you. And you heard that right. My network, I'm telling you this, seen it and work with those people. How can everybody get a hold of you?
Reach out to our office, call it 416-697-1400 or 954-533-9396. They can just call us, speak with Linda, and she can set an appointment with either myself or my business partner, Joseph, who will go through the process with you. He is one of the testaments to the type of agent we are bringing to South Florida. We're not bringing everybody, just the right people. He is one of our best agents, the perfect agent we're looking to bring.
We see the deals he's bringing through.
I'm a producing member of the team, and we're going to grow this thing to the moon.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll do a lot of business together.